What's the biggest lie police tell to drivers when they pull them over? It's that the results of their breath test won't be used against them in court. That's not just slightly wrong, it's a flat-out lie. Now I'm talking to you about the handheld breath test, what Virginia calls the preliminary breath test, or PBT. This is the one we're mostly familiar with from movies and television. You see it on Cops and other shows. It's a little device that they have a guy blow into to measure the BAC. Now there's a lot of problems with this device. And for that reason, the law says that the results of the test are not permitted in a, quote, prosecution. But a prosecution is not the same, according to the Virginia Court of Appeals, as a trial. This test will absolutely be used against you if your lawyer tries to say that the police officer should not have arrested you. There wasn't enough evidence to arrest you. You didn't look drunk, you didn't act drunk. And they're going to say, aha, but you blew into the preliminary breath test. And it showed us a 0.08 or a 0.09 or some really low number. And that is why you should never, ever, under any circumstances, blow into a preliminary breath test. The single most common comment that I hear about this is that if you don't blow into the preliminary breath test, you're going to be charged with refusal. Now, we lawyers know that that's just not true. So do the police. If you are arrested and taken back to the police station, the law requires you to blow into a separate device there. But you are never required to blow into the preliminary breath test, the handheld device. There's no penalty for doing so. Under the law, it's technically for your benefit. Now, that's ridiculous, of course, but you don't have to blow into this, and there are no circumstances under which you should. When the police officer says to you, well, blow into this and we'll see if it's okay to let you go home, he knows damn well he's not letting you go home. What are some of the reasons that this device is not allowed in a prosecution? That is, it's not allowed to prove what your BAC was. If you blow a high number in this device, a 0.15, let's say, they can't come into court and say he had a 0.15. They've got to use another device to do that. So that's what it means when they say they can't be used in a prosecution. But why can't it be? Well, because it's a piece of junk. That's why. What this device supposedly does, or what it attempts to do, is it has two little metal plates and they run an electric current across it. And as you breathe in, the carbon molecules in your breath, supposedly from alcohol, will increase the flow of electricity from one to the other, and the device measures that increase. But notice I said carbon molecules, not alcohol molecules. These devices are definitely not specific to alcohol. And there are lots of other things that could cause carbon to be in your mouth. The most common of which is simply sugar. I have watched a lawyer blow into one of these devices and blow a 0.0, then eat one slice of white bread, wait 1 minute and blow again, and he blew a 0.04. Because the bread broke down into sugar molecules in his mouth, and sugar contains carbon, and that is what was measured. Many years ago, I had a client, I no longer remember his name, who was stopped at a sobriety checkpoint, and he blew a 0.20. That's hugely intoxicated. And the officer looked right at him and said, no, I don't believe you're a 0.20, that you don't seem drunk. So they gave him another breath test, and he blew a 0.0. And he said, well, can I go now? And they said, no, we're taking you back to the station. We're arresting you. We're taking you to the station, and we're going to have you blow in that device. He was upset, but he was a law-abiding citizen, and he went along with it. He blew in that device, and he blew a 0.0, so they let him go, right? Nope. They decided, well, they're going to charge him anyway. Maybe he was high. No evidence that he was high, no blood test showing he was high, and they never did a field sobriety test on this guy. There was no walking, there was no touching his nose, there was nothing. but that one device that said he was at a 0.20. Now, when I got to court, this case was dismissed in about 30 seconds. The prosecutor looked at me and said, "Why are we here?" And I said, "You tell me." But that gentleman had to hire me. He had to pay thousands of dollars and hire an attorney. More importantly, he nearly lost his chance to adopt a child that he and his wife had looked forward to for years. This was the culmination of their plans. And if he had a DUI conviction, he would not have been able to adopt that child. And even the DUI charge kept him from adopting until the case was dismissed. There are at least half a dozen other reasons not to blow into a preliminary breath test. But in the interest of keeping this video short, I'm just going to end it here. If you have questions about preliminary breath tests or any other areas of the law, feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you. And you have a great day.